okay, it's okay. Oh my god. Go away! Yeah, I don't want to talk about this. Excuse me. Anyways, so Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be sharing with you all a personal story, and it's not a very good story, as in it's not one of my best moments, and honestly, like, I felt like the most horrible human being in the face of this whole entire universe after this. But honestly, like, I still feel guilty about it, like, even though it's been 2 years since this thing happened. Only now am I feeling comfortable enough to like talk about it. The reason why I'm making this video is because I feel like I learned a lot from it, and I think it would do more benefit than harm, and hopefully inshallah you guys learn something from it and kind of open your eyes as well. Alhamdulillah for every experience, and you know, I'm just continuously trying to do my best to like better myself, and we all learn from our mistakes, so it's part of the process. This story basically happened 2 years ago, like I said. This was my first or second year of college, my second year of college, and I decided to join the ethics debate team of my school. And I always loved debate. I did it in middle school. I found out there was a debate team, and I kind of wanted to join and like reopen that passion of mine. And I had the time, so I was like, why not? So I joined, and it was very small, 2 coaches and then 2 other members beside me. They're both guys, and you know, like the nerdy kind of geeky type, and they were all so sweet though. Basically, we had a case, we had to debate like the ethics of this new Florida law, and then we have to put together a presentation and stuff, and then we compete with other universities nationally. So it was a pretty big deal, and I didn't know how big the competition was, but alhamdulillah, it was a good experience. So I joined the team, and we had to put together this presentation, and you know, everyone had a part to do, and it was my first year, and I didn't really know what I was doing and what was expected. So I did the best that I could, but I had some questions, and the deadline was coming up, and I like go on my presentation, and my other 2 teammates have not done their part. So I was like messaging them and calling them saying like, hey, you know, the deadline is coming up and the presentation isn't complete. I have some questions, you know, I really appreciate it if you guys could answer my questions and like do your thing. But you know, I don't know, guys, they were not responding to any of my messages. They weren't responding or picking up any of my calls, and I knew they had work, I knew they had classes and stuff, so I was like, okay, maybe they're just busy, maybe they didn't see. But I just felt like they were kind of like avoiding it and ignoring me and kind of like putting everything on me basically, and I did not like that. Plus, I had a huge anatomy exam that day, the day that it was due, the presentation. And because of my stress in trying to get everything done, because whenever I'm in group projects and people are not doing their part, I end up doing their part. You know, I need to get a good grade, I need to like do everything right on time and stuff, submit everything. So I ended up doing the entire presentation basically. And the fact that I didn't know what I was doing made it so much harder, because I didn't know if all this time that I was spending and all this effort was even going to be worth it, because I don't know if I'm doing it correctly. So it was really frustrating for me. Plus, I couldn't study as much as I wanted to. Plus, I had this overall pressure of my professors, because alhamdulillah, the entire year I've been getting the highest score in all of my tests in the entire class, okay? And so it gets to a point where now my professors expect that, you know, I do it upon myself, and you know, I do my best, and alhamdulillah it works and stuff. But then all these expectations like, oh Rube, you better get like the high score this time again and again, and they like, you know, assume it, and then it puts added pressure on me, and then I have to get like the perfect score all the time, you know. And you know, like, I was not able to study as much for this test, and it was like one of our final exams. And when you know, I was like stressing out about that too, and I was like having a mental breakdown. I was like crying. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, like this presentation and ethics and then my tests and my classes, and it was just a big mess. And so I went to university the next day, and I took my anatomy test, which was early in the morning. And usually, like, I feel pretty confident with my tests and stuff that, okay, I know I did a good job, at least an A. But this one, I was not at all confident when I was going through. I was not confident in any of my answers, and I was like, you know, I was literally praying just for a B. And I know some of you are like, oh my god, this girl, like, I would do anything for a B. But for me, it was a big deal, and I hate to have a B. Like, I always need to go aim for an A and stuff. I know I'm that kind of person. But this time I was like, if I don't get a B, I'm gonna cry. Like, it's gonna be horrible. I hate disappointing people, especially my teachers and stuff. And you know, I met with because we had like our ethics meeting right afterwards. So I met with my coaches and I complained. I was like, listen, like, I had to do this whole presentation by myself. No one was answering my calls and texts. I don't know what happened. And I basically, like, it was very stressful for me. So I complained and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And they were like really understanding and like really grateful that at least I got everything done on time and stuff. And they're like, no, I'm sure like it was great and things like that. We'll go over it once, you know, the other team members come. So my other team members show up. And I don't know, whatever, they had their excuses, whatever. So we were like, hey, you know, what's done is done. That's fine. Let's go through the presentation and like make changes here and there if we need to. And then that'll be done. We'll go to a competition and see how that goes. So we're going through my presentation. And everyone pretty much liked what I did, except for the team captain, which was one of the guys on my team. And let's just call him X, okay? I don't want to say names, obviously, so let's just call him X. He was the most senior member of the team, and he's done it for many years and stuff, and so he has the most experience, so he's team captain naturally. And every slide that I was going through, he had some comment to make, like some change. And it wasn't like a big change as in maybe I got my research wrong. It was little petty things like, I don't like the color of this. I don't like the animation on this. I don't like this chart. You have to remove all the charts, basically, remove all the pictures, remove all this. I don't want it to have like this color or this color, do this, blah, blah, blah. And it was like very little things that really didn't matter. And I was like, well, if you already had a vision in mind, you should have just told me or answered my calls and texts when I was asking you when I was making it, so that I wouldn't have to basically go through the whole thing and redo it. And you know, I was like kind of debating with him. I was like, no, I think it's fine just the way it is. And he's like, no, it's distracting, it's blah, blah, blah. And he was just like bashing all my effort, and he wasn't appreciative of anything at all. It was just complaint after complaint after complaint on every single thing that I did, and I felt very offended. I felt very hurt, and especially because I spent hours on it. And you know, he was very blunt too. It wasn't like, you know, in a nice way. He was very rude, and it was very embarrassing for me because everyone else was fine. It was just him who had the problem. So I was like, okay, everything you're saying does not make any sense. And at some point I just stopped arguing with him. I just became completely quiet, and he's like, you need to fix this, you need to change this. And I was just listening to him. I was like, okay. So I just kind of like, you know, stopped talking after that, and he just continued to complain about my presentation, and then the meeting was over. So then I was like, well, I will go and basically redo this whole thing again. And you know, I just kind of left. I didn't say anything to anyone. I just left because I was on the verge of crying, and I did not want to embarrass myself further by crying in front of all these men. And so I just left, and a few seconds later, I hear one of my coaches come back and call after me. And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. So he came and he's like, hey, Arub, you know, I noticed you were kind of quiet in there. You know, is everything okay? I want to make sure you're okay. And I just lost it. I started crying so much. I was like, literally, we were like in the cafeteria, and there were like people surrounded everywhere, and I'm just like crying, and he's like freaking out. He's like, oh, don't cry, it's okay, like, I'm so sorry. And he was just like trying to calm me down, and I like couldn't even talk. I was crying so much. I was like sobbing. I have a problem. And I just like, when I start crying, like I can't stop crying. No one appreciates my work, no one appreciated my effort, and I think I failed my anatomy exam, and like all this stuff. I just start ranting to him, and he's like, no, like, I'm so sorry, it's like, it's okay, like, he didn't mean it like that, blah blah blah. Anyway, I calm down and I start making my way towards the library, because that's where me and my friends usually hang out. I go to the library and I see my other coach, and he's like, Arub, I need to talk to you. So he comes to me, and we like go somewhere private, and he said that, listen, like, I want you to know, I don't know if you know this, but X, my team captain, and basically he said that X is on the spectrum. And I like look at him, and I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, as in he's on the spectrum, like he's autistic. X has some problems, and you know, he's been struggling with it for many years, and that's why he hasn't really been able to graduate on time, and this is why he's like you know, in certain situations he doesn't know how to react. He doesn't understand like how things come across when he says them. He doesn't understand, you know, he doesn't have the ability basically to assess certain situations and stuff. And you know, this is one of those situations, like he had no idea, like he literally did not realize how that he was being hurtful towards you. He's been hospitalized and he's been struggling in many ways, physically, mentally, financially, educationally, like everything. There's just a bunch of things going on with him right now. And it's not an excuse, but I just wanted you to be aware, like, you know, this is what's going on. And, you know, when he's explaining all this to me, like literally, I felt my heart sink. I felt my heart drop. I was like, oh my God, you know, I'm crying because a guy with autism hurt my feelings, basically. And he like, and it wasn't even on purpose. Like he literally had no idea, like, you know, how things were going on. It was just, I felt so horrible. I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, like I'm so selfish. Like I basically, you know, took things so personally. We could have handled it in such a more mature way and stuff. And, you know, if I just communicated with him on how I felt instead of like crying, basically, like I wouldn't have had to like go through all that. And, you know, it was so bad because he's like saying that, you know, when, you know, the rest of the members kind of told him, hey, I think you made Aruba upset, he was in complete shock, like he had no idea. And he's literally in the room, in the meeting room, taking notes on how to apologize because he doesn't even know how to like do that. He doesn't know how to like fix things like that. He needs someone to coach him through certain situations like that. And I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even know what to say. Like I was completely at a loss of words. Honestly, like I had no idea. You know, usually like there's some things here and there where someone might have a suspicion that, okay, you know, but literally like he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. Like I just never even thought of it. Like even if I had an ounce of doubt that something might be wrong, I would have never guessed it would be him. And you know, like the fact that I was so ignorant towards this all, made me feel horrible because I realized that no matter what you're going through, like all your problems and all the things that are causing you stress in the moment, there's always going to be someone who's struggling more and you don't know it, or they don't show it, or they don't tell. People make mistakes, and sometimes like and he was like completely innocent. Like he wasn't trying to be a jerk. He wasn't being a bully on purpose. He like had no idea. And you know, he was totally oblivious to all of it, and I felt so bad. So anyway, I had that talk with my coach, and then I met up with my friends, and I just started crying because I felt so horrible. I started crying so much. I was like, I'm such a horrible person. I was just so embarrassed. I was like, I don't even know how to like talk to him now because I don't want him to apologize to me. That would make me feel so much worse. Like he doesn't need to do that. And you know, I hope I didn't hurt him in some way. And I just felt really selfish. And to be honest, it was really selfish of me because of my ego of like not getting the highest grade in my class. Like, so what? What's the end of the world if I get a B or a C on an exam, you know? Like, alhamdulillah, like at the end of the day, I got the presentation done and I did pretty much everything correctly. So, you know, when I met with X again, after that, you know, he apologized and stuff. And I was like, no, like, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. And we came to a compromise. You know, I took out some of the things he was saying and he let me keep some of the things that I wanted. So we came to an agreement in the end, and alhamdulillah, the presentation was fine. And alhamdulillah, the competition went well. We won 3rd place. And actually most of the people were saying we should have won 1st place. So it was an amazing experience. And I ended up getting the highest score on my anatomy test anyway. So I was freaking out for no reason, and everything worked out in the end, alhamdulillah. I just realized like how immature I can be in some situations. If I just like sat down and told him like, you know, this is kind of offensive or this is kind of bothering me, we could have worked things out completely. You know, whenever like you're in that kind of situation where you're annoyed or frustrated with someone, you kind of have to put yourself in their shoes. Like, you know, what is going on that's making them, you know, act in this sort of manner? When you start kind of like seeing things from other perspectives and point of views, then that anger kind of just goes away and diminishes, and you start to have more compassion for people. And you know, the Prophet ﷺ was always compassionate with everyone. You know, he never let people's past mistakes define them. And you know, his mercy was unmatched. Even like people who try to kill him, ﷺ, people who took everything away from him, he met with compassion, like all sorts of people. And it was just a big lesson for me. So yeah, that was my story. Alhamdulillah, everything is fine now, and alhamdulillah, like, I've gotten a lot better with communicating with people. It always works out in the end, and Allah is always there for you, so never lose hope in Him. So yeah, Jazakallah khairan for watching. I hope you guys learned something, and inshallah I'll see you all in my next video. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Look like a zebra. Zebra. Deborah the zebra.